Well, politicians and news commentators have always had to watch what they say about certain subjects so they don't get fired. Artists have always been seen as the last bastions of free speech, and censoring art, no matter how provocative or offensive it is to some people, was always seen as something only a tyrannical government would do. Major music labels and movie studios have always stood by their artists and vigorously resisted calls for censorship, championing the freedom of expression, whether it was NWA's famous F the Police or blasphemous anti-Christian films like The Da Vinci Code or Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ. But near the end of 2017, Spotify, the popular music streaming service, announced that they would start censoring songs from hate bands. What is a hate band? Whatever the Southern Poverty Law Center says. Best known for hating Christians and white people, it's not surprising the SPLC eventually got their tentacles wrapped around Spotify and other streaming services to help them keep a lookout for hateful content in music. Other streaming services like Apple and Pandora followed suit, banning supposed racist music by white people who are pro-white or who support identity politics for white people, while allowing rap music that blatantly calls for the murder of police officers from people like Ice-T, NWA, and Snoop Dogg, who depicted himself murdering President Trump in one of his music videos, and countless other rappers who spew anti-whiteism in their lyrics. As you know, it's common for rappers to diss crackers and white boys in their music, but that's just fine. Hating white people isn't considered to be racist to the left. And I'm not saying that those who display black fragility in their music or on social media should be banned. I laugh whenever I hear some fragile black person use the word cracker, thinking it hurts white people's feelings. It just shows their weakness and their white envy. Many are jealous of white people, and instead of working to better themselves and their circumstances, they just hate white people and use us as a scapegoat for all of their problems. And Jay-Z's albums are okay, despite calling women is in literally 50% of his songs. I'm gonna bleep that out because I try to run a family-friendly show here, but it's the B word. So black rappers being misogynistic in their music is just fine. It's a major part of rap culture and rap music. It would be racist to criticize them for that, but you can't make fun of gay people or transgenders, and you especially can't criticize them in your lyrics. Christian rapper Bryson Gray has had numerous songs of his censored from the music streaming services, including his song Pride Month, denouncing the LGBT propaganda-filled month of June, when virtually every Fortune 500 company not only posts happy gay pride messages on social media, but also changed their profile pictures to incorporate rainbows into their company logos, the symbol the LGBT people have adopted for their sexual preferences. YouTube even censored one of his songs for a line about the COVID pandemic, saying it was medical misinformation for a lyric in a song. There were calls to ban Kanye West's music from Spotify after his comments about a certain group of people in the entertainment industry. One of his songs that he released on Instagram in December of last year, titled Someday We'll All Be Free, was quickly censored for supposedly being anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism in a song. Meanwhile, there are countless songs, particularly by heavy metal bands, which are blatantly anti-Christian, but that kind of music is just fine. One album by a heavy metal band called Marduk, titled F Me Jesus, is allowed on Spotify, Amazon Music, Bandcamp, YouTube, and even Walmart sells their album, which I have censored here because I run a family-friendly show. I hesitate to even describe it, but the album cover shows a naked woman using a crucifix as a dildo. Amazon also sells a song titled F White People, which has a noose on the album cover. They also stock various black supremacist books that promote actual hate groups like the Black Hebrew Israelites, but banned all shirts and other merchandise that says it's okay to be white. In 2018, Spotify announced another new policy saying they were going to start banning songs from artists who have engaged in harmful or hateful conduct in their personal lives, like domestic violence or sexual abuse. That meant that songs by R. Kelly and Michael Jackson would be pulled, but then just 3 weeks later they reversed their decision and apologized, saying they don't want to be the moral police, but affirmed that they were still going to be censoring what they called hate speech. Guns N' Roses' song, 1 in a Million, which was released on their 1988 album GNR Lies, includes a line about immigrants and, well, I can't even quote the lyrics or I'll get canceled, but it's a word referring to a certain group of people that rhymes with maggots. But when the studio released the Guns N' Roses box set in 2018, they didn't include that song because it has been deemed racist and homophobic. It's probably only a matter of time before other songs like Aerosmith's Dude Looks Like a Lady will be banned for being transphobic as well. Once you give liberals an inch, they demand a mile, and since they smell blood in the water, they will continue their quest to eliminate everything they find offensive. Beyonce and Lizzo, the morbidly obese singer who the media insists is beautiful, both removed the word spaz from their lyrics after they were called out by twits on Twitter for being ableist, meaning offensive towards disabled people, because spaz is short for spasm or spastic, referring to cerebral palsy or other disorders which cause people to have uncontrollable movements. Rapper Tom MacDonald was censored from the YouTube trending list after he released a song called Fake Woke, denouncing wokeness and all the political correct insanity being pushed by the left. His video immediately went viral and made it into the YouTube trending list, but was soon mysteriously removed, even though on his video the tag was still included that it made the trending list, because the censors aren't perfect. Their arrogance often causes them to overlook certain details that reveal their activities, and if you looked on the actual trending list of the YouTube trending videos that day, as it counted down, it was mysteriously missing a certain number, his. When record executive Leo Cohen, who led Def Jam Records and later Warner Music Group, appeared on a popular hip-hop talk show called The Breakfast Club, he was pressed about why he published so much music that encourages drugs and violence.
This opioid thing, man, is...
They seem like they're making it cool to be drinking lean and syrup, and
it's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
Because I already answered that question. You weren't paying attention. She asked me talent or issues, and I said talent. But I have to. I can't give up on people.
But I'm saying that's hypocritical, though. You're saying
it's opportunistic.
Yeah.
I got people to feed. I got a business to run.
You're gonna make Dame Dash take this clip and call you a culture vulture?
Well, he sure seems like the kind of record executive that Kanye West was talking about when he got completely canceled. Leo Cohen, by the way, has been dubbed hip-hop's biggest supervillain. And for anyone who doubts the power that music has to incite people to engage in certain kinds of behaviors, they're obviously not aware that the CIA recruited popular artists in Cuba in order to use them and their music to foment discontent in the country and encourage Cubans to rise up against the communist leader Raul Castro. Declassified documents reveal that the U.S. government was behind a covert mission in Cuba to recruit the rappers and use them to encourage their fans to rise up against the government, and spent millions of dollars doing so through a front company, which the CIA often uses. This one was called Creative Associates International. This is all declassified. It's admitted. It sounds like a conspiracy theory to those who don't understand how things actually work, but it is another conspiracy fact. And if you think the CIA setting up phony talent agencies to covertly influence music is shocking, then wait until you learn about Operation Mockingbird, the Central Intelligence Agency's declassified scheme where they figured that they would just pay tens of thousands of dollars a year under the table to editors, reporters, and TV anchors at major media outlets to work as propagandists and gatekeepers for the government. Equally disturbing are the behind-the-scenes government connections to big tech social media platforms where they engage in censoring topics that we've seen with the release of the Twitter files. And one can only begin to imagine what has happened and continues to happen at Facebook, YouTube, and the rest. We're seeing the very principle of free speech under attack like never before, with the liberal media industrial complex even claiming that freedom of speech is dangerous and saying that conservatives have weaponized the First Amendment. There have always been restrictions on the First Amendment. For example, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, and you can't threaten to murder someone or encourage acts of terrorism. But today, a rap song insulting LGBT extremists who believe there are 57 different genders, or white rock bands singing about being proud of their race, aren't allowed to be heard on the brand name streaming platforms, which were supposed to open up distribution channels for independent artists. But now, instead of the major record labels standing in their way, it's the streaming services. Back in March of this year, Apple censored a song called Justice for All from iTunes after it reached #1 on their charts because the song features a group of political prisoners incarcerated for being at the Capitol at the mostly peaceful protest on January 6th, who sung the Star Spangled Banner over the phone from jail, and that was recorded and then mixed with Donald Trump reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. All the proceeds from the song went to help the families of the political prisoners, many of which, as you know, have been held without bail for years, even though they weren't even accused of committing any violent crimes. But shortly after the song was released, it hit #1. iTunes banned it. Then, after outrage on social media, they reinstated the song and claimed, as usual, it was just a mistake. Just a mistake that they banned the #1 song on their platform. It's always just a mistake. What really happened is the censors dump information down the memory hole on a regular basis, hoping nobody notices. And when the brand name conservatives are too cowardly to speak out against such censorship, it flies under the radar, not getting any media coverage. And then they feel they've done their job correctly. But when people actually grow some balls and denounce the censorship and it starts trending on social media, making headlines, and members of Congress start looking into it, then sometimes the big tech platforms reverse their decision, and then they always say it was just a mistake. If you like my serious monologues like this, then you'll love reading my book. So order the Liberal Media Industrial Complex in paperback from Amazon.com, or download the ebook from Kindle, iBooks, Nook, or Google Play. My books are a lot more in-depth and hardcore than my videos, which I have to tone down a bit for obvious reasons. So head on over to Amazon.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.